Mad Sports Radio, The Gang Green Report with Mike Damergis and Rob Carpenter.
Mike Damergis along with Rob Carpenter for week 2 of the Gang Green Report. And last time we talked, Rob, I had the Jets winning 3 games, and you actually said they were going to win 7 games. And so far, Rob, you look like you're right with this stunning 31-30 victory.
Well, that might have been the luckiest victory I think the Jets may have had in the history of Jetsdom.
I've been watching games for 40 years, Rob, and this is probably the biggest win this team has had since Rex Ryan in 2010.
Yeah, the thing was they just have to put a full game together, and I think this team would be all right. So you notice against Baltimore, defense played pretty well. We gave up those couple of big plays late in the game, but the offense sputtered around a bit, drop passes, fumbles, and so forth. Yeah, yesterday against Cleveland, the offense pretty much had it going up and down the field, and the defense just couldn't stop, the Cleveland run. They made a few key stops here and there, for the most part. It was going to be a long day, long drives on both sides of the ball, but the special teams helped out this week with the Jets, so that was huge. And once they actually get it together where they can put a full game together on all 3 aspects, this team's actually going to be pretty good.
Yeah, the defense got pushed around a little bit, 184 yards on the ground. Nick Chubb, 87 yards, which is kind of keeping him in check. But when he scored that 3rd touchdown to make it, put them up by 13 points, I thought that was it. What did you see in the Jets and the breakdown in the Cleveland secondary to allow the first touchdown and then the second touchdown?
Well, for me, as soon as the extra point was missed, I had a flashback from Saturday afternoon, Syracuse-Purdue. That was my key in saying they have a chance because this is football. Ball bounces in crazy ways. I said if they could get in the end zone, pretty quick, they would have a chance. I know they were pretty much down and out with timeouts, but the one thing that happened with Cleveland is I just think, Ward, who was covering Corey Davis, just guessed. They were in quarters coverage. It was 4 quarters across the board, which most NFL teams will do when they have a team backed up like that in a 2-minute situation. And, Ward, I think, just saw a ghost and thinking that, they were going to try and get it quick, deep out, get out of bounds, stay some clock. When Corey Davis got even with him, then started leaving him, I was like, okay, there we go. And the safety didn't come down. And that was just an easy one right there. The next drive was going to be key if they got the ball back, which, I think Garrett Wilson, I think he may have said this in his post-game press conference. He said he didn't want his drop on that 3rd down before Chubb scored to be, the game ender for them. So, I think he had it in his head that he needed to go make those plays. And, God thank you that he did.
So, but Rob, this is the New York Jets. Let's be honest here. They don't get 3 big plays in a season, never mind 3 big plays within a few minutes. And you get the touchdown pass to Davis. You get the onside kick, which was incredible. And then the touchdown to Wilson. And then the interception to end the game, because all Jet fans are thinking, we're going to get our hearts broken. This is just the way it is to be a Jet. We're going to lose this game. And they made 4 plays within 2 minutes of each other. Come on now.
It was 1 minute and 11 seconds, the span when they scored both touchdowns. So you got the Davis touchdown, you got the onside kick, and then the Wilson touchdown to 1 minute and 11 seconds to leave 22 seconds on the clock. And like you said, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, 22 seconds, Cleveland's got a timeout. What's the worst that could happen right now? A long pass down the middle of the field. Don't want that to happen. And it just must have been, fate that Ashton Davis was in the game. As soon as the ball was snapped, I didn't see him move. So I'm like, he's playing robber. And, he was right there.
What does robber mean?
Well, one of the safeties will actually just come down right in the middle of the field. He won't move. He won't get a drop. He'll come down right in the middle of the field and actually spy any of the crossing routes. And that's exactly what he did. So he jumped right in front of that crossing route that DJ Reed was covering. And, that sealed the game. Just thank goodness that he actually caught it and didn't give them another shot, because that could have been another disaster right there if he actually drops the, game-chilling interception and then they get another chance to, get down the field and get in field goal position.
Well, Rob, I got my victory cigar here that I've been waiting 10 years to smoke. I was waiting since the Todd Bowles when they blew the last game of the season against the Bills. I mean, it's a little stale now. The taste is it's a little leafy. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna have to get you a new one, Mike.
I got my victory cigar. I tell you what I'm excited about, Rob. I grew up watching teams from the 80s, had the sack exchange, and love that team, of course, with Joe Klecko, Mark Gastineau, and then some great receivers, Wesley Walker, Al Toon, that last great tight end I think they've had since Mickey Schuler, really. But, seeing Garrett Wilson play, tell me yes or no, does he remind you of a little bit of Al Toon?
Yes, in a smaller body, yes. Al, I think, was kind of like a freak of nature, 6'5", can run a 4.3, could jump out the gym. He was a track guy. He was a football guy who ran track, but, wasn't afraid of playing football. So, Al was a great athlete, and Garrett does have that in him, and a little more, because Garrett, once he gets the ball in his hand, he's kind of an electric kid when he gets the ball in his hand. So I think what the Jets offensive coaches saw on last week against Baltimore was the fact that when he's in the game, they have to take notice of when he's in the game. So that's going to open up a lot more things down the field. And we saw Tyler Conklin actually, chip in, at tight end, and they're using him in the correct way. He's roaming the middle of the field. He's a check down guy every now and then, and he's helping in their pass protection when need be, because the first drive down the field, I saw him chip, Myles Garrett a couple of times. I saw him chip on Clowney a couple of times before he actually went out. And late in the game, when when it was all said and done, when they really needed the protection to give Flacco the time, Conklin was back there and actually helping out in protection. But got to give the O-line props as well, because all week, all you heard was that the Cleveland Browns defensive line was just going to pretty much, chew up the Jets offensive line. And I give a lot of props to the rookie right tackle, Max Mitchell, because he balled out yesterday, man. He's probably graded out as one of the best, rookie offensive tackles in the game right now.
Now, if this was the 1980s, because I just love the 80s like everybody does, I'd be opening my New York Post or Daily News, and I'd see the box score, Joe Flacco, 4 touchdown passes. Great game by him, and the enthusiasm, the video of him coming in the locker room and being hugged by Robert Saleh. It was kind of emotional for Jet fans, because we're numb, and to see something like that, we're not used to it, and it's a weird feeling to be used to disappointment, and for them to come back in a game like this, it's pretty incredible. Talk about the emotion of winning a big game, and what you reflect from some of the big games the Jets won when you were there.
Well, what you saw is the whole team bought in. When Flacco actually came in the locker room, the whole team was literally waiting right there for him to get there. They didn't start anything. They didn't start any of the post-game, talk from Saleh, any of that. They waited for Joe to come in so he could be a big part of everything that went on in that locker room, from that victory. Because, wins are scarce in the NFL. Everybody knows, it's hard to win in the NFL. If you look around the league, you look at some of the teams that are supposed to be some of the best teams in the league, they already have losses. So it's hard to win in this league. And when you get a chance to close out a game like they did in that fashion, that could boost this team to the next level, because everybody got a sense of what it's like to actually get a W. The rookies who actually, helped out in this game. Hall, of course, Garrett Wilson, again, Max Mitchell, and you just go down the line, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens. I saw him out there putting pressure on. Unfortunately, he got a flag on him for roughing the passer, which I actually thought was kind of BS, because he was actually just falling down and fell right into Brissett. But when you see guys like that, it gets contagious. The veterans that they have here, some of those guys are coming from winning teams. Whitehead coming from Tampa, Quan Alexander coming from the Saints and from the 49ers. C.J. Mosley himself came over from Baltimore. He's a Pro Bowler. So, those guys can inflect some of that winning enthusiasm into the young guys. And the young guys are going to be enthusiastic about it because that's their first W in the NFL. So, hopefully that carries over. And it's a thing, man, where your adrenaline is pumping, pretty much the whole plane ride home. They probably won't even come down for that until, it didn't come down from until this morning's meeting. And it still will be going because they'll be talking about everything that went on in the game. So they'll probably still be on a high until tomorrow when everything is laid back a little bit. They get to rest one day and then come back in on Wednesday for the game plan for the Bengals.
And Flacco keeps playing well, and Zach Wilson's healthy to come back. What's the decision here? A win like this, and you talked about rallying around Flacco. I'm not sure that Zach has that kind of following yet. From a media standpoint, he comes across as cocky and smuggy a little bit, but you're there, you're at the stadium, you're with the other players. Tell us about some of the leadership you think that Zach has. You think the Jets will follow him because, like you said, they followed Flacco. It was all about that. Tough decision for the Jets here. Flacco's playing well.
They've already put everything behind Zach. So everybody knows that Flacco was supposed to be that stopgap just in case something happens to Zach. The team is behind him. All the players are behind him. They said it right from the beginning of training camp. This is Zach's team. He's the guy. Even Flacco said it. This is Zach's team. He's the guy. Of course, Flacco wants to play. And he said that. He said he doesn't feel like he's done in this league. And he basically just showed it over the last 2 weeks. He's over 600 yards passing and 5 TDs in 2 games. But, he knows that this is Zach's team. He's the franchise guy. And everybody in that locker room knows he's a franchise guy. So when he comes back, they're pretty much going to expect him to do what Joe has been doing, if not better. Because one thing about Zach, he's actually a little more elusive out here nowadays. So he can get out of the pocket when things break down. So anything that Flacco couldn't do, as well. But he's going to have to learn and see what Joe was doing out there on the field. To see where he was going with the ball, the defenses, the coverages that were out there, learning from Joe, in that aspect, and just getting rid of the ball as fast as possible to the guys that we actually have out there, those playmakers that are out there, because those guys are out there and they can make plays, man. It's proven already.
Well, just like I said, the Jets were going to win 3 games. And you had them at 7, possibly 8. They're 1-1, and suddenly how a week passes, and they got the Bengals up next. Looks like a winnable game because they've got problems on the offensive line with Cincinnati. What is it about Cincinnati that you see with the Bengals why they're having so much trouble? And certainly, Ken O'Brien in 1985 was sacked 62 times. I don't know how he made it through the season, was ranked the NFL's number 1 quarterback. How much longer could Joe Burrow withstand this? And what are you looking for if you're the Jets?
I'm actually not sure that Joe can actually, withstand this, too much longer. Joe Burrow actually being out there getting hit as much as he's getting hit, I don't think he can stand that too much longer. He's a young kid in this league. He's already had a season-ending injury. He's coming back from being banged up again. Unfortunately, this offseason, I think it was his appendix that he had taken out. So he missed some time during camp. So you factor that in, and then you factor in the fact that they actually do have a new offensive line, basically. So it's going to take some time for that O-line to gel. Hopefully it's not, this week, because I think the defensive line could actually get after Joe Burrow again. My fear for the offense is that, the defense just becomes a little lax and lets a couple of big plays go over their head, with the receivers that the Bengals actually put out there, because that's a formidable group, man. That's a good group of receivers out there. It's just that Burrow just doesn't have the time to actually get the ball down the field. But if he can let it go, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, those are some good players. And they added in Hayden Hurst at tight end. So I'm not too worried about the running game, because I think the Jets would actually shut that running game down for the Bengals, because that's definitely not a Cleveland Browns offensive line, or backs like Cleveland has. But the passing game is just that's the part that actually has me a little up in arms just a bit about and I know they played better. DJ Reed, great corner, great pickup. Jordan Whitehead, great pickup at safety. Sauce, he's that guy out there in corner, and he doesn't mind them actually even taking shots at him. He doesn't mind it at all. He's like, bring it all this way, let me have it. So
do the Jets isolate?
We can get those.
Do the Jets isolate Sauce on Jamar Chase?
I don't think he's going to be totally isolated on him, throughout the entire game, because he's going to play his side and DJ Reed's going to play his side. Now, Will they be afraid to play man-to-man from time to time? I don't think they'll be afraid at all to lock him up with any of the receivers they have, T or Jamar Chase. And I know DJ Reed is good enough to hang with him. It's just going to be up to the D-line to put that pressure on Joe to make sure that he gets the ball out of his hands as fast as possible. And so, he can't hold on to the ball and make a big play down the field. That's just my fear for the defense this week, because I believe that the pressure is going to be there on Joe.
All right, so the Jets are 1-1, home for the Bengals, possibly looking at 2-1, and then at the Steelers. Are we looking at a 3-1 Jets team coming home from Miami?
I don't want to get too far ahead. I don't want to get too far ahead, Mike.
But it's not at the possibility of reality.
It's really not when you really look at it and look at the fact when you looked at the schedule to start the season, everybody said, "Oh man, it's the AFC North first 4 to start the season." And if they don't get, 2 of those, the season's going to be down the drains. But when you look at it in reality now, when you do look at it, it's possible they can come out of this 3-1. If they put the package together, all 3 phases of the game, they can actually do it.
How about this?
What happened yesterday with the Patriots and the Steelers? You saw what happened yesterday. They don't have their best pass rusher. So, things can happen in these games. And their offense doesn't look like it's, a game breaker for the Steelers. So, it could happen, man. It really could happen.
How about this? I got the Jets at 3-1, losing to the Dolphins, losing to the Packers 3-3, beating the Broncos and I got them at 5-3. What do you think about that? 8 games in. 5-3.
Like
that's
you sound like me, Mike. That's on the way to those 7 victories. You sound like me.
Well, let's hope so. He's Rob Carpenter. I'm Mike Damergis. For week 2 of the Gang Green Report, catch us every week. Follow me at Sports Radio Prof on Twitter. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, Mike.